Welcome back. It's Keon Amelie Live. I'm your host, Keon Amelie, and I'm so excited to have you with you. Let's start that over. Welcome back. It's Keon Amelie Live, and I am so with me here today. It's a wonderful Tuesday morning, and I have a great show for you planned out. You see, we had this private Ask Me Anything on Friday, but we were headed out of town for a church retreat, and so I couldn't get that done. So today, what I want to talk about is one of the posts that someone had put up. You see, in those AMAs, a lot of times people put up really, really good questions. And so if you have anything, shoot those over to me, either private message me, put them up on the Momentum page, wherever you can get a hold of me. I see it all. It comes through me. And so I really do want to see and hear from you and answer the questions that you might have. And so today's question comes from Shannon. She was asking me, hey, how do you what do you do when you hit the plateau? And for those of you who are uninitiated with the plateau, it hits everyone. You're going to get to it at some point in your fitness and fat loss journey. The plateau is where you're going and you're going and you're going. And just like a mountain or whatever, there's this plateau, this stopping point, this thing where you get stuck and nothing seems to change. In fact, sometimes you even get worse and you head back down the hill. So what do you do when you hit that plateau? And so there are three ways to deal with the plateau. Now I'm going to give you some philosophical advice, but I also want to give you some practical advice so that you can actually see some better results. And so we're going to intermix those three things for you today, or those two things into three pieces of advice. And so the first advice comes in the form of a story. You know I love stories. I think stories are the best way to convey information because they're memorable. Like everyone who hears a story can relay some of it. They can always memorize. They can relate back to it. They can think about it. It's easier to remember than a formula or whatever. And that's why I love having all these books. Like they're full of stories. And so that's what I want to share with you today is a story. And this one comes from my friend and mentor Martin Rooney. He was in I want to say Thailand, and he was writing this book. And one of his books, and it was about studying the ancient arts. Like where did all of fitness and the martial arts, where did they originate? Let's go back to the beginning and see where they come from. Like what makes these people great? What ties all these streams together? And so he was in Thailand, and they were studying Muay Thai. And so he's in these backwoods, in this little village where training with these Muay Thai masters. And one time the master says, hey, you know what? For our warm up today, what we're gonna do is throw 1,000 knees. And Martin, looks at the guy and says, I know you don't think, or you don't speak English so good. So let me just clarify. 1,000 isn't like 1, 0, 0, 0. And the guy's like, do you mean like 10 or like 100? Like, do you really mean 1,000? And the master's like, no, yeah, 1,000 knees. And that's just the warm up to get started. And so they throw the 1,000 knees. And what the master was saying is like, hey, in the first couple hundred, you start feeling them, right? In the second couple hundred, they start getting real hard. The third couple hundred, it's like, oh, now it's burning. And then the final couple hundred, that's when you become the movement. And so when it comes to hitting plateaus, this is where it becomes the toughest part, is because right here at the beginning of the plateau, if you're going this way, it's easy just to kind of say, okay, this hurts. And then you keep going, and it's like, man, this is really tough. And then it burns. And then finally, at the end of the plateau, right before, like when it's darkest, when you're feeling the most like you're going to give up, that's when things get better. And so my encouragement, Shannon, is to grind through the plateau. I don't mean like hurt yourself. I don't mean like push harder and keep going. But what I do mean is embrace it, because when the reps come in, when you get those 1,000 reps, when you keep going, you keep grinding, you keep seeing it, and you stay focused on the goal, that's where you see the end of the plateau, right? If you stop, you will not see the end, right? You're just going to backslide to where you were, and then you're going to continue on. If you restart a program, you're going to continue on, then you're going to hit another plateau, and you're going to stop. What that teaches your brain is it teaches your brain that it's okay to quit when things get hard. Fitness isn't just about seeing fat loss results or health results. I was talking with one of my friends on Facebook, and she said, you know what, like I really like jogging on the treadmill. And it helps me get into a better mindset. It makes me a better person. And the weight loss, that's cool. right? So when it comes to fitness, like I treat this as a tool, as an entry point for the rest of your life. It teaches you so much about who you are, and so when you get those reps in and you grind through it, it reveals the person that you are inside and then refines that person. That's point number one. So when you hit the plateau, keep going, grind through the reps. Point number one. Now point number two comes in the form of another story. This is one of my favorites. It's called The Riddle of Trying Softer. Now again, another master teacher is visited by a potential student. And this student, he says, sir, I want to become, or sensei, I guess they don't call him sirs. Sensei, I want to become the greatest karateka master ever in the entire history of the world. I want to be your student. How long is it going to take me? And the master, thinks for a second and says, well, if you want to become the best ever, it's probably going to take you 10 years. And the guy's like, 10 years, that's a long time. Maybe, I was thinking more like 10 months. Hey, what about this? What if I try real hard? Like, what if I try harder than any student you've ever had? And I just grind it out and I push forward and I do this really hard. How long is it going to take me then? And the master says, oh, that's easier. If you try really hard, then it's going to take you 20 years. And the student confused and he says, no, like what I mean is like if I devote myself to this to you like unendingly, like I am ceaselessly focused in on you and this art, and all I do is I eat, I sleep, and I breathe this. Like how long is it going to take me then? And the master says, oh, that's even easier. It's going to take you 20 years or 30 years. And the student's so confused. He's like, the first time he said 10 years, then I tried harder 20 years, now I tried the hardest 30 years. Like, master, I don't understand. Like, why is it every time I try and work harder, it gets longer? Like, it becomes longer for me to become a master. And the master says this: you try so hard in your life, you try so hard to get to that end goal in your life that you forget about the steps in between. Why not try softer? So why not try, instead of becoming the greatest of all time, to the be all end all, why not just learn the next move and the next move and the next move? The same goes for fat loss and fitness. Like, hey, sometimes we get so caught up in losing 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds that we forget that like those little small, those big breakthroughs are made up of single pound increments. Like, instead of trying to lift like the 50-pound dumbbells when you're at the 10s, like try getting the 12-pounders, right? Or instead of like trying to get your first chin up and like it's hurting or whatever, like try and just like do a really good row. You see what I'm saying? It's like, try softer, like focus in on the steps. Like when your eyes are so fixed upon that, like that goal behind, like the end goal, and you're just striving for the end goal, we forget to focus on what's right in front of us, and we get lost, and we don't get there because we're just focused on that end goal, and we forget where we are. That's probably if you get nothing out of today, get that. That's probably the most important thing that you can get out of all the shows that we've created so far, and we've done. I mean, this is episode 36, and for a podcast, I feel like that's pretty dang good. And for the show that's been alive just a short while, and so try softer. That's my big challenge for you today. And the third thing, when you are hitting a plateau, our tendency when we hit something, especially when it comes to fitness, our tendency is to amp things up, to say, all right, yeah, I'm gonna hit a plateau and I'm gonna go pedal to the metal, right? And that works. It really does. Like, that is important for us to do some of the time, but our lives are stressful. We are not moving enough. We are not relaxing enough. We are not resting enough. And so when your pedal is always to the metal, like you redline your car for 24 hours a day for a week, you tell me how well that car functions, right? You do it for a month, guess what? You're buying a new car. Like, you cannot redline your car 24/7. 365, right? And the same goes for our bodies. Our bodies have these planned obsolescence in them where we have to go get repaired. We have to rest. And so, in fact, there was a Stanford study done that showed that those who work 7 days a week at their job, at anything, are less productive than those who work 6 days a week. Another way to think about that, and again, this study proves it, is that if you work 50 hours a week, you are more productive than the guy who works 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week. Like, that's mind-blowing to me. Like, the guy who's working less actually does more. And so when you think about this, like, hey, again, when we hit the plateau, our mindset is typically to go like, woo, hoorah, I'm going to crush it, I'm going to go for it. But it's like, hey, you know what? Going 24/7, 200% all the time actually is holding you back. Having a day of rest, having a day to breathe, having a moment where you can just kind of relax and do things you love and spend time with your family and get outdoors and eat food that isn't on this finicky meal plan. Like, those are really, really important times. I mean, hey, you go back to the Bible, I think it's the 4th commandment, it's take a day off. Like, God took a day off. Like, I think that's pretty important for us. If God took a day off, we should probably take a day off too. And you know what? Science backs that up. And so, when you start taking those days off, you're going to start seeing, hey, I am more able to go into the gym, into the dojo, and push harder. I'm more willing to eat better. I'm more willing to follow this path to its ultimate conclusion. But when you don't take the days of rest, when you just grind through and you push and you push and you push, you push yourself to the point of exhaustion, and you will never see what you want to see. So I implore you, I beg of you, take the moments to breathe. I'm a huge fan of mindfulness. There was a show we did on it a while back. Mindfulness is a practice that I've been doing for at least the last 2-3 years, and it helps me become more human. Like, I don't know how else to put it. It just makes me more of a human. It makes me a better person, because all I do is just breathe, and I'm just myself for a little bit instead of always focusing in on, helping the next client, getting the next video up, doing the next show, making the next buck. Like, it just forces me to stop for a second. And so that's my encouragement to you. Don't stop when you hit the plateau. Try a little bit softer, and don't forget about the rest. Now, let's talk about a couple practical things. Some things that you may not be thinking about. When you have been grinding for 30, 60, 90 days of straight fat loss, your body is going to need some carbohydrate. Like, if you're not eating enough carbohydrate, you are just pulling out muscle tissue and destroying it, and so that's another big thing. So Shannon, if you're not eating enough carbohydrate, you might, when you incorporate it, you're going to see a slight bump in weight, and don't be afraid of that. That's just your muscles like going, oh yeah, give me. Oops, sorry. I forgot to put myself on Do Not Disturb on my phone. Anyways, your body's like, yeah, I need those carbohydrates. Give me. Like, and it plumps back up, and then those muscles are able to work more. So again, focus on the food that you're eating. You need to have a sufficient fat. You need to have a sufficient carbohydrate, and definitely a lot of protein, water, and sleep. Those are some of the main fundamental aspects, those habits that you need to have in order to have a long-term fat loss plan. Like, I love the short-term bursts, but now it's time, especially Shannon, knowing where you're at, now is the time to look, okay, I've lost a significant amount of weight. What do I do now in order to maintain this forever? One of the best challenges that my buddy Justin ever gave me was like, can you do this forever? Is this sustainable forever? And if it's not, you have to ask yourself, like, how can I make it sustainable forever for my lifestyle, how I want to lead my life, for my goals, for me? That's what you're looking for, is that sustainability. And so, hey, that's an extra bonus secret that I'm going to give you guys today. If you liked the show, please share it, post it up on your Facebook wall. We try and make it as entertaining, as fun as possible, and informational as possible, and motivational for you as possible. Post up a comment, ask me questions. I really want to help you. This show, like I said, we don't make a buck off of it. It goes out into the ether, and I hope that you are helped by it. Another way you can help the show grow is go on to iTunes and give us a rating and a review, hopefully 5 stars. If it's less than 5 stars, that's fine, but just, if you're going to give me a 3-star rating, just don't don't go on iTunes. Like, just don't do it. Just 4s and 5, please. That helps the show. And then share it with a friend. Like, say, hey, personal message someone, text them like, hey, I think this really could help you out with what you're struggling with. And so I hope you do all those things, and if you do, I will be back with you very soon. Keon out. Peace.